This could be your chance. Chance for what? Thomas hoped his brother would change the subject if he played dumb. It wasn't that he didn't want to talk about Maddie, but the more they discussed her, the more he let himself imagine a future with her. Your chance with Maddie, you dolt, Kit chuckled. She's asked me to stay away for most of the evening in the hopes other men would speak with her. Am I other men? You certainly could be. And you've already secured a dance with her. Thomas licked his dry lips. It's just a dance, Kit. And that is how many happy courtships have begun. The wind picked up, blowing frigid air down from the north and requiring them both to pull their scarves up over their faces, which halted any further conversation. Thomas was grateful for it, and for his brother's silence on the subject of Maddie once they'd returned to the Hayward house, with just enough time to ready themselves for the evening. The families took 2 separate carriages to the Flying Horse Inn, the tallest building in the village, and the only place with a room large enough for a gathering of so many people. Once they were all together in the dooryard, Mr. Hayward offered his arm to his wife. Shall we? She smiled and laid her hand on the sleeve of his coat. By all means. Thomas turned to his mother, about to make her the same offer, when Kit swooped in and beat him to it. This way, mother, he said, glancing at Thomas for the briefest of moments. That left Maddie standing alone. May I escort you in? Thomas asked, hoping his voice didn't sound as hesitant to her as it did to him. It was dark, but her brown eyes were sparkling in the light of the carriage lanterns. You may. He had expected her to formally place her hand on his sleeve, as was the custom, but instead she threaded her arm through his and rested her hand on his bicep. It was likely for show, but it was an intimate gesture all the same, and Thomas had to remind himself that tonight was a favour for Maddie, not a prelude to something more. He had to remind himself again once they were inside to counter his brother's words ringing in his ears. Thomas helped her remove her winter cloak, revealing a wine-coloured gown with tiny ruffles along the sleeves and neckline. The rest of the gown was unadorned, some might even call it plain, but she needed nothing else to take his breath. She glanced at him over her shoulder, then turned her body to face him. What? His eyes widened. Had he gasped aloud? You look beautiful. That colour suits you. Thank you. She poked a finger into his chest as he shed his greatcoat. It looks well on you too. Thomas's eyes followed her finger, and he grinned. Under his chocolate-brown cutaway coat, he'd worn a cream waistcoat embroidered in claret-red roses. Wear a match. The words were barely out of his mouth before he realised the double meaning and clamped his mouth shut. Fortunately, Maddie didn't seem to notice, and Thomas allowed a small sigh to escape his lips, of both relief and frustration. Was this how he was going to spend the entire evening, tripping all over himself around Maddie, then chastising himself for it? No, he wasn't. He was going to enjoy himself and relish a dance with the woman he loved. Tomorrow morning their relationship would return to its previous state, and in a few weeks' time he would be on his way back to Scotland. Are you well, Thomas? Maddie's words snapped him out of his wool-gathering, and he nodded. I was wondering if it might be best to have our dance first, or if we should wait a little. First, she said resolutely. The sooner I'm seen with someone other than Kit, the better. And, her pink lips pulled into a smile, I have been told the first dance is to be a minuet. You like minuets? They were old-fashioned and falling out of favour with the younger generation. Thomas couldn't remember the last time he'd danced one. Her lashes swept down as her gaze dropped for a moment. They make me feel rather stately and elegant, she confessed in a low voice, leaning close enough for Thomas to notice she'd chosen a different scent for the evening. Roses. Something I tend not to be otherwise. He bent his head to speak softly in her ear as he offered her his hand. Then let's go and be elegant.